going to be things that are going to happen. It is not going to be every day. It's not going to be the day where there is a dance in the park. There is going to be days where we're going to have to look to them hills, show enough look to them hills from whence cometh our help, and realize that all our help come from the Lord. There are going to be those type days, and they are in the midst of a famine, but they're not in Egypt while they're going through the famine. And you know this because in verse 2, he says, don't you take your butt back over there. Don't you allow the circumstance to cause you to go back. Don't you allow, Jesus Christ, help me this morning. Don't you allow the situation to cause you to turn around. There is a land, he says, that I'm going to tell thee of, which means there is a place that I got set for you. There is somewhere that I have literally designed and purposed for you. And don't you dare go back where I brought you out of. Verse 3 says, sojourn or travel through this land, and I will be with thee, good God, in this sojourning through a land, which means you're going to get to know every aspect of this land. God help me this morning. You're going to get to know every aspect of this land, every part of this land. You are going to be able to put your feet on every part of this land. Sojourn. You are going to be able to take dominion in every part of this land. You're not going to be sitting on, like for instance, I'm sitting on 130 acres, but I'm really only sitting on maybe over probably 3/4 of an acre of the 130. No, he says sojourn in this land, which means you are going to have the inhabitations of all that. God, you're going to have the inhabitations of all that land. All of it is going to be accessible for you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee. Father, I thank you, and I will bless thee. God, I thank you. For unto thee and unto thy seed, God, I thank you. I will give thee. He said, I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham thy father. Then he goes on in verse 4 and says, and I will make thy seed to multiply, and the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. This is what the Lord is saying. This is the conversation that the Lord is having with Isaac in the time of famine. This is what the Lord is saying to him in the time of famine, in the time of distress, in the time of lack, in the time of when it looks like things are not going in his favor. The Lord steps to him and makes these promises to him. I'm trying to see if I can recalibrate our mind this morning to come to a mentality of knowing that when it gets tough, that God is yet there. Because the first thing the mind wants to do when it gets tough is retreat. The first thing the mind wants to do is run back to a place of familiarity. But I'm trying to tell you this morning, if you would take the principles of the Bible and see what it is saying right here, that in the time of distress, the Lord showed up. It said he appeared unto him and he spoke to him, which means God caught him, Lord have mercy, just in the nick of time. God caught him before he could allow himself to even go back into a thing. Lord have mercy, listen, you cannot convince me. I won't be convinced. Why? Because I believe the Lord. And why? Because I know it has happened to me personally. The Lord will get to you before you go do something crazy. He will. The Lord will always show himself to you before we do something crazy. That's the reason why there is this little saying, something told me not to do that, or something told me to go over there. See, that is the Lord appearing in the time of distress. That is the Lord appearing right at the moment of about to make a foolish decision. That is the Lord appearing. He's appeared to me on many occasions. Some I listened, some I didn't. And there is a penalty that comes with not listening. We're going to look at the blessings of listening this morning, though. But check this out. The Lord shows up in a time of what is a famine, what is a distressful time for them. He shows up, appears to them, and literally begins to speak and begins to say something that when you are going through don't seem like it make a lick of sense. Are you serious? Do you not see what's going on? There is an eviction notice on the door. Do you not see what's going on? My marriage is falling apart. Do you not see what's going on? The bank account is tripping. Do you not see what's going on? Family is going through. Do you not see what's going on? Death is in the family. Do you not see what's going on? Drug addictions is in the family. Do you not see all of that? And you gonna come to me in the midst of this and tell me that you're going to do something great? That's when the mind begins to play tricks. That's when the mind begins to really have an issue. That's when things that have been embedded on the inside, that's the show and tell part that I like to call that. That's the show and tell. It's going to show and it's going to tell exactly where I am with God when I find myself in that type of predicament right there. The Lord shows up to him and says this to him. Let me get y'all to verse 5, because that's the meat of what I want to talk about this morning. Verse 5, he says, because that Abraham obeyed my voice. There it is. I asked y'all this morning, have you obeyed the last thing the Lord told you? What was the last thing the Lord told you? Or do you even know the thing the Lord wants you to do? He says, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. He says, look, check this out right here. What he's letting him know is, I'm going to be good to you because of someone that went before you. God, help me, please. I'm going to be good to you because of someone that went before you. Can I tell y'all something this morning, and you hear me well? How you live really does make a difference in other folks' lives. You God, help me this morning, please. How we live really does make a difference in other folks' lives. I know that when you stand at the judgment seat, you're going to stand there yourself, and you're going to have to give an account of your own things. But please don't let part of what you have to give an account of, me included, be the fact that I caused some stumbles. Please don't let it be that God has to chastise because of some blood that's on my hand because of some stumbles. They found themselves in a place of famine here. And the Lord talks to Isaac, but he says to Isaac, this is all being done because Abraham obeyed my voice. And you are of the lineage of Abraham. God, help me this morning, please. You are of the lineage, God, help me, of Abraham. So it gives cause to me to have to look upon you. It gives reason for me to have to look upon you. I need y'all to know this morning, you are a difference for somebody. God, help me this morning. Please, Lord. You are a difference for somebody. Lord, help me. You are a difference for somebody. I'm going to tell y'all again. You are a difference for somebody. The decisions you make impact somebody. Right or wrong. They impact somebody. Somebody is looking at you. Most of all, God is looking at you. And what we do has an impact on the next generation that comes after us. Have you obeyed God? Lord, help me. Have you obeyed God? So now it gets a little tight. So for all of the things that you are not willing to do that God instructs you to do, just know you are literally causing a stumble for someone else. Obedience opens the door for things to happen for generations to come. Disobedience opens the door for things to happen for generations to come. So if you are the type of person that's not willing to be a blessing, not willing to respect and honor, not willing to submit to those that have leadership, or even in marriage, not willing to submit, then you are setting up something for the next generation. God help me. Let me stop this morning. Let me take Lord Jesus, let me grab questions or comments. Anybody got something? Let me pause for a minute. Any questions, any comments?
Amen. This is on point. This is on point. Thank you, Apostle Lee. Thank you. Keep on keeping on. This is on point. Breakthrough miracle. God. Thank you, Apostle. Oh, baby. Thank you.
Any questions, any comments? Floor is open. Any questions, any comments? Did you know that you really make that much of a difference? Did you know it?
Probably not taking the opportunity to really look at it as in depth of what you said, or how much of an impact, whether it's good or bad, that we make on everybody's lives. That our lives isn't just directly impacted upon our own decision, but everything around it.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that you make that much of a difference? Sometimes because of what we go through in life, and we look at all of the bad stuff that's done took place in our lives, it can tend to make us think that our lives are not valuable. That, they you don't know what I had to face. You don't know that I was rejected when I was a child. You don't know that I was fondled as a little girl, even was raped before teenagehood. You don't know that, what I'm saying, you mean to tell me there's value to my life? You must not know I dropped out of high school. You must not know I was pregnant at 15. You must not know, these things. So when you look at everything that's done happened inside of your life, you can tend to look more at the famine than looking at the promise. Isaac was in a famine, caught up in the middle of a famine. A famine means a lack. A famine means it's not sufficient. There's not enough. To be without. It's a famine. But the Lord appears to him in the midst of that famine. If I could get some people to just really, really hear God this morning, the next time you face any type of trouble, you'll see it completely differently. Your whole outlook will be completely different, because you'll look for God in the midst of it instead of taking matters in your own hand. You will look for God in the midst of it instead of thinking that this is the end. You will look for God in the midst of it instead of you thinking, oh God, what is going to happen with our money? How are we going to do this? But you will look for God to appear, because there is witness right there that he shows up in the midst of famine. So your whole outlook on things will be completely different because you will know that this is just the time that God can show up for me. This is just the time that God can speak to my future. Why?